What's good, everybody? It's your boy, the We're back with another video. We're back with another team preview, and this time we are previewing the South Carolina Gamecocks. Before we do that, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. But let's get straight into it because it's a lot to talk about with this South Carolina team. They're on a revenge tour of sorts, and sometimes we say revenge tour, and it's like, okay, bro, like not everybody got a revenge season on their mind, but I do think South Carolina has some things that they want to prove to different teams. I think Dawn Staley has some stuff she wants to prove to different programs and to the media. And it's not to say that she doesn't feel like she gets the credit she deserves because a lot of people picked them to win again last year, and a lot of people picked them to play and win against UConn. Like I feel like it was a toss up going into that game. I do think UConn was playing better going into the game, but I don't think people were like, oh, South Carolina's about to get washed or this is an easy game for UConn or anything like that. But this is a new South Carolina team in some ways. In some ways, um, Chloe Kitts went down with the torn ACL, so she's out for the season, unfortunately, which I think is a big loss. But I think they'll still be able to figure things out. They brought in Ta'Niya Latson, who is a 25-point per game scorer, something that they've been missing on the perimeter for quite some time. I feel like, well, I would say quite some time. Yeah, quite some time. Raven Johnson decided to come back. Malaysia Full Wiley transferred. Um, so in Bree Hall, Sanaya Fagan graduated, went into the W. So there's a lot of players that are going to have to step up. There's some players that are going to have to do some different things this year. And one of those players that I think is going to be huge and is going to take another step forward and maybe two steps forward is Tessa Johnson. I think she's been ready since last season to make that leap, but I think there's just so many players around her and in front of her, like Tahina and Raven and Bree and Malaysia. Like it's hard to play over all four of them or play over one of them. And I think this time, now that she's going to be a starter, she's going to be playing with Tanai and she's going to be playing with Raven. I think she's going to be the player that people are going to be like, people are going to be weary of. Like, they're not going to want her to shoot the ball, obviously, because she shot the ball well for the last two seasons that she's been in. She shot 43% last year. She shot 43% the year before that. So she's a phenomenal shooter. But when you have someone like Ta'Niya Latson and you still have like a player like Joyce Edwards, who, if you're going to let Joyce Edwards play one-on-one, she's going to have the advantage 9 times out of 10, I feel like, depending on who you're playing. But Tessa Johnson is a player that you can't leave open, and I think she has improved her ability to put the ball on the floor as well. I think that's something that people have been waiting to see, and I think as years have gone on, she's gotten better at putting the ball on the floor and making plays for herself and for others. And I think that's something that she'll be able to do this year. I think she's going to be a focal point of the offense because they want that 3-point shooting, and you're going to need that 3-point shooting against certain teams in the country. And I saw a clip, I saw some videos of her shooting further out, like shooting some deep threes. So if she has that in her game, which I don't know how much Dawn is going to want her to do that, but if she has that in her game, that's a whole nother element to the offense that South Carolina hasn't had for some years. I mean, Tina Paopao is a phenomenal shooter, but she didn't really shoot too far out. Now she shot a couple steps behind the 3-point line, but from where I saw Tessa shooting, she was shooting from like the hash. So if she's shooting from out there, that means somebody's got to defend her all the way out there, and that just gives your offense, that just gives your team more advantages. So big season for Tessa Johnson coming up, in my opinion. I also think Raven Johnson has a lot to prove still. She could have gone into the draft last year. I think it was a good idea to take the extra year if she had it. And not because I don't feel like she's shown that she's a really good player. I just feel like there's still some things that she can improve on if she wants to play at the WNBA level. The shooting, yes, she has to improve on, but I still think there's like some confidence level things that she's got to work on in terms of like confidence in her playmaking, confidence in her skill level, confidence in her talent, and again, the shooting ability. Like, I think Raven Johnson is a phenomenal player in terms of like being able to defend at a high level, being able to play make and get other players open and things like that. But there has to be some things that are like with her. There's some. I think it's more of a mental thing than it is physical. Like, I think she has the ability to do it all, but I think sometimes she gets a little bit in her head, or she's playing on a team that like, okay, we got to get the ball to Cardoso. We got to get the ball to Cardoso. We got to get the ball to Cardoso. We got to get the ball to Kitts. We got to get the ball to Kitts. We got to get the ball to Joyce Edwards. So she's so like focused on just getting the ball to the post that she's not really thinking like, okay, like I have to make a play here or I can make a play here. And we've seen her in certain games where she's decided to be aggressive and they played way better. The last couple of years, I always said like the way that they would win would be. Did I say Bree Beal earlier? I meant Bree Hall. But the way that they would win would be Bree Hall or tonight. Bree Hall or Raven Johnson playing well offensively. And when they did, they were almost unstoppable because you already had the post players, you had the shooters in Tahina, and you had the scorer in Malaysia, and you had the shooter in Tessa Johnson as well. But if you could get 10 to 12 points from Raven Johnson and 10 to 12 points from Bree Hall, there was just no one that you could leave open. I don't want to say leave open, but there's no one you could take focus off of to put focus on someone else. You had to guard all five players for who they were. So that's when they were at their best, in my opinion. I think Ta'Niya Latson is going to bring a lot to the table in terms of scoring. Defense, she's going to have to play a lot of defense. And not to say she wasn't at Florida State because I think she was a good defender at Florida State, but Dawn Staley don't play. Like if you're not playing defense, you coming off the game or you coming out the game and she don't care if you score 25 points a game. Um, I think that having that ability, having a player that can give you 20 to 25 a night is huge for them. And not just 20 to 25 a night, but 20 to 25 a night from the perimeter. It's been a long time since South Carolina's had somebody that can do that from the perimeter. And she's a efficient player. She doesn't shoot really bad shots. I think she's going to be able to get better looks playing with South Carolina than in years past. I do wish Chloe Kitts was healthy because if Chloe Kitts was healthy, this offensive unit would be even better. But I do think Joyce Edwards is still going to be really good. She averaged 12 points, 5 rebounds, 1.1 steals on 53% shooting from the field, 77% from the free throw line, and she looked like the game was easy to her last year as well. Like she had some games where it was just like, oh my god, like just wait till she like continues to get better and continues to get older. And like South Carolina is one of those places like, yes, we want you to get better on the court, but we also want you to get better off the court in terms of like how you lift, how you eat, how you carry yourself off the court, on the court, all these different things. And Joyce Edwards, it seemed like she did it right away. Like she took to the South Carolina system, South Carolina program right away, and it was pretty evident. Like, okay, she's going to be one of those top players over the next couple of years, to where she's going to be really hard to guard, really hard to stop. Um, like once she gets going to the rim, like it's a lot. There's a lot of players that don't want to see her going to the rim. I'm gonna say that. I do think the front court is the key for them this year. Obviously, with Chloe Kitts going down, you have Medina. You have Medina Akat, and I think she's going to be a huge, huge piece for them because she's super talented. She's another one of those players that hasn't played for a bunch of years, but is starting to understand the game of basketball more and more each year that she plays. And I think this is a perfect kind of program and system for her of like just being able to come in and play hard, just run the floor well. We can get you the ball in the post, rebound the ball well, block shots, stay out of foul trouble. I want to see her be able to move her feet better, but I think from what I saw in the exhibition game, that it looks like her feet, like she's moving better than in years past. So I think as time goes on, she's going to get better and better with everything like that. But I think her coming from Mississippi State is a key because she did play in the SEC already. She has already had experience playing against those type of teams and playing that kind of style, because the SEC is not for everybody. I'm gonna say that right now. The SEC is not for everybody. But I think she already has that experience, so that's a big key for them. The bench is going to be another question mark for South Carolina, which I feel like it's been for a while. Not the last couple years, but there's been times where it's like, okay, we don't know. We're getting off the bench. Obviously, you had Malaysia for a while, and you had Tessa Johnson in years past, so you knew what you were getting there. But now Tessa Johnson is a starter. Tahina Pau is gone. For Wiley is gone. Bree Hall is gone. Like the players that were on the bench or could give you bench minutes are now starters. You know what I'm saying? Like, god dang, bro. Are now starters. So I'm looking at them and I'm like, okay, players on the bench like Maddie McDaniel, like you had some big moments last year. Are you going to be able to like turn that into something that you can do every single night off the bench for them? Because Dawn is not she's not a coach that plays her players like 38 minutes a game. Like she's gonna get y'all some breaks. So the players that are coming on off the bench, you got to be ready. And if you're not, your opportunity will be gone. Like she's not just going to be putting you out there, and if you don't excel, you go into that bench. Dawn Staley's not a player that has like a short leash or a long leash. Sorry, she doesn't have a long leash. Like one or two plays you mess up, come on out because we play at a certain standard and a certain level here. And if you can't reach that, you got to go sit and figure out how you can do that. And she's got great assistant coaches that can help while they're sitting on their bench. Like, all right, this is what you need to do better. Like she might have the best assistant coaches in the country. So that's something that I always pay attention to is like when certain players make a mistake or do something that Dawn doesn't like and they go to the bench, when they go and they sit with the coach, like the coach is like talking to them and imploring them, and that player is always like watching the game and like trying to figure out like, okay, like I see what you're saying, like I understand. And 9 times out of 10, those players come back in and they understand. Malaysia Wally was a great example of that. Even though she ended up leaving, and I don't necessarily disagree with her leaving, but I do think there was a lot of times where she did some stuff that Dawn wasn't feeling. She went to the bench, someone talked to her, she figured it out, she came back in and she played great, like against Maryland. They asked her to give her one more chance. They gave her one more chance. She was able to, carry them in the fourth. So I do think there are some players that are going to have to step up big for them this year. But I still think South Carolina is one of the top teams in the country. I don't think this is a down year, or I don't want to say a down year, but I don't think this is a year where people should be looking at South Carolina like, oh, like they should be easier to get this year. Obviously, they don't have the same kinds of talent as they did in past seasons, but I don't think this is a team that you can just be like, okay, yeah, like South Carolina's been running shit for the last couple of years, but they're not gonna run it now. Like they damn well could end up winning another championship, and I wouldn't be surprised at all because this team, while there are question marks, like I said, there's question marks for everyone. While there are question marks, I trust Don Staley. I trust Don Staley. There's some coaches in these elite programs that are up there, and I don't really trust them. I don't have no reason not to trust Don Staley. Similar to Gino, even Kim Mulkey, unfortunately, there are some coaches that you just have to trust. Like the eye test tells you trust what they do. Trust what they do every single year. Trust what they do in the off season because Dawn Staley is a coach and she's a former player. She's a Hall of Famer, played in the Olympics, all these different things. She is not okay with losing. Like she seems like one of those coaches and one of those athletes that enjoys she hates losing more than she likes winning. And when she loses, like the way she lost in the national championship game, where there was a lot of like times that the camera just panned to her and she looked distraught, looked like she couldn't figure out how to change anything on the court at the time that it was happening. That sat with her for 6 months, 7 months by the time the season starts. It's been a long time since Dawn Staley probably sat and had to think like, okay, like maybe I gotta change some things up. I can't believe like this happened. Like when that happens, she typically comes back and wins the championship. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. She typically comes back and wins the championship. Do you guys think she'll win the championship this year? Do you think South Carolina is one of the top teams in the country? Do you think they're a favorite to win? Do you think they will win? Let me know who you have winning in April or cutting down the nets in April. And make sure you come back for the next ones. Appreciate you guys for watching.